Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of TerraVentures. We're here back at the base and today we're going to be working on getting the resources we need to finish off this building behind me. So if you remember from last episode, we actually ran quite short on the resources, these honeycomb blocks behind it, to finish off this thing. We are going to need quite literally hundreds of them, so we need to figure out a plan to get them, and the plan I have is to produce an automatic farm somewhere around here, possibly here or possibly on the other side of this building here to get that. So thankfully there is an automatic farm designed for that, which I actually took from someone else's video, which I'll put a link to them in the description, of course. So let's hop over to the other video, sorry, not the other video, the other world where I've built a test version of it and explain how it works. And if we look here, this is the basic design of the farm. So we've got our bee's nest or our bee nest or our bee other thing, I really forget the name of it. Where is it? Beehive, that's the one. So we've got a bee nest or beehive here, the flower there, the dispenser here, which has got the shears. The bee will pop out into there, harvest the pollen, go into here, and every now and then this will fill up. That will then be detected by this, or this actually detects every single time a bee goes in and out, but that is good enough. It will detect that, fire these redstone torches, fire into this redstone torch, and thus single tick activate this piston, which will then fire the shears into this, shear the honey, and it'll go into this thing here. And of course you need to put rails underneath and collect it via that. So that is the one downside to the farm, where you need to actually manually or semi-manually collect this. Obviously this is a bit too low here, but the idea is pretty simple, pretty good, and it works quite well for honeycomb. It's not going to work well for the honey bottles, but I don't think we really need to collect that we don't really need to collect that anyway. So let's quickly have a look on the world, on the realm, and figure out exactly where we're going to put this thing and how big we're going to build it. Right, so now we're back in the realm, and I'm still figuring out where we need to put in the farm. So I think over here it would work sort of okay, but I'd have to do quite a bit of cleaning up, and we wouldn't be able to go as deep as we would like, as I would like, because over here we've got this bit here, and it drops quite quickly, and we wouldn't be able to get quite the area that I'm thinking here. So if we go over to the other side, right next to the wool farm, we've got a little bit more room, even though we do have to do a bit of terraforming, which isn't too much of a problem. We can get rid of this bit here and do a single entrance, but it can go all the way around a few times. So let's get rid of this and have a look. So after we get rid of here, we should be able to lay out the platform for where we're going to go. So let's get some wood, and we'll lay out the path as well where we're going to put the walkways, because we want to make this a bit of a loop as well as a circular path, so we can have multiple places and many places where we're putting in the the wool. What am I thinking? It's not a wool farm or a sheep farm, it's a honeycomb farm, so we're going to have plenty of places to put those things in soon. Now looking at this, there's actually a couple of ways I can design this build. So I could have two columns or one column of walkway. So the first way, or actually the way with the two columns, is that I'm going to have something like this. And just imagine the grey concrete is the beehives for the time being. So this is where the glass would be. And then we're going to have our observer. Where is the observer? The observer, the block on top of that, like so, the thing there. So actually it's going to be a little bit more bigger than that. Then we're going to have the same on this side. Observer, bee nest there, observer there, torch, and it's actually going to come out to here, the glass, so something like that. So that is one way I can do it. It does mean that there's a large part here which doesn't actually get seen, or I can go with the other route of having just a one long column. The advantage of the two-way is that I can get a little bit more honeycomb, which then I suppose I could then sell, or use as a resource for this and other builds in the future. The downside is that it's going to require quite a bit of planning and make sure I get it exactly right, because I've only got 64 bee nests. It took quite a while to actually get that stuff, so I'm not too keen to get more. I suppose I could, but it is a little bit of a hassle. So I think I'm going to go with the 2-column method. It does mean a little bit more rails and whatnot, but I should be able to build that up with no problems at all. So, with a little bit of further ado, we shall have to firstly plan exactly where we're going to put the 2 columns, and where the glass is going to go, and where the walkway is going to go, and then from there we'll need to start building the actual redstone part of this build. I've actually just had a thought. Since the entire farm is going to be automatic anyway, I don't necessarily need to have my walkways going up and down the thing. So if that is the case, and I do decide to go that way, I could just decide to build the second part of the farm, or the border farm here, right next to it, like so, and then put the glass on top of here, and do the same on the next side. So I think that would be better. I don't necessarily need to see the bees at work doing their thing. I just need to have them, well, doing their thing. So hopefully it's a bit of a question, but I think it'll work out quite well actually, and it's going to save me some space. So once again, we're going to have to put in some bits. We're going to put in the flowers as well. I decided to go with blue orchid just because they're one of my favorite flowers in Minecraft actually. They're nice light blue. So that should work quite nicely, I reckon. Let's have a look. Is this any different? It doesn't really matter which way I put these things, because the bees can pop out any side and they can go anywhere they like. So let's just keep building this thing and get it all sorted, ready to go. And after quite a bit of building, we've got ourselves the functional part of this. I haven't got any bees in here, nor do I have any of the shears that I need. So each of these things are going to take 9 shears. Although I suppose I could put a what do you call them? A hopper and then chests on top of it to store more. But for the time being, I'm just going to stick with these. So there's 9 in each. Each of them takes 2 iron, so that's 18. And there's 64 of these dispensers. So 18 times 64. That's a bit beyond my mathematical capabilities, but I've just calculated it, and it takes 1152 pieces of iron. So that's a little bit more than I think I've got here. I really needed 2 stacks of 64, so I'm going to have to go get that as well. But what I think I should do now is close up these pieces, and then I can start bringing in the bees to start doing their work with the honey. So that shouldn't take too long, and then I can start work on building the outside structure of this, as well as the collection system, which I will need as well, which I forgot to do. So a little bit more, and the farm is nearly functional. Well, quite a bit of time later, I've managed to breed up these bees. There's quite a few in here, quite a few in here, so that should be working quite nicely. And if I'm right, I can hear I think I saw some of these going off, so that should mean that the honeycomb is coming in soon. It might take a little while for them to come through, and we just want to check to make sure that these hopper minecarts are going off. So they should be coming round soon. There's one, and the second one should come round soon, and there's another. So there should be 2 going round, and that should work quite nicely. So as always, we're going to build a overly sized skyscraper to cap this thing off, and we just need to figure out the exact design. I'm not particularly keen to do orange again, or some kind of honeycomb block, because I'm trying to put all the resources into here. But some new design, if we can think of one, would be good. So let's pop possibly into a creative world and do a bit of testing and see what we can come up with. Right, I've been designing this just a little bit, and I think I've nearly got to the right design. And wait a minute, that's not my skin. I think I just need to change skin for a second. Hopefully this works. Yeah, there's my threads back. Anyway, so we got the right thing. We got this going here. I think this is just a bit too much white. This here, the honeycomb block, really does need dark around it. So On the front side, I've been testing that a little bit as well. And if we come to the front, we can see that this design over here, I think that would work quite well. We should probably test with the cyan terracotta up there as well, or cyan concrete up there as well, but overall I think this design works well. It's got the white barriers on the outside, just like our other two buildings over here. So obviously this building is modeled on this building over here, which I think is one of the best buildings I've done here. So I'm copying it slightly and modifying it to fit this design. I think it works quite well. The next question, of course, is how tall do we make it? And I think, since this is such a rather large building, we should build it rather tall. So let's have a look. I think I've got some concrete in here, and concrete powder and water bucket. So let's make an appropriately tall building and see how it looks. Looking up there, I've got a bit of a preliminary height, which is at 110 blocks. It's sort of around the height of these blocks here, which I think all these three should be around the same height, actually. So that's about right. However, I'm not sure I've got quite enough black terracotta for this. I did go mining earlier, and I did check the Outback store, and that doesn't have a lot of stuff, and I don't particularly want to raid that just to have enough to build this thing. So there's quite a bit to do. Unfortunately, this does mean I've got a lot more honeycomb to collect, but thankfully, since I'll be hanging around here, this thing shouldn't take too long to collect the stuff I need, even if it is in the thousands. One thing I did also note is that this thing tends to occasionally spurt things up here. Obviously there isn't at the moment, since the bees are all in their beehives sheltering from the rain, but in the day, which I can actually make it today, they should be out harvesting, and they shouldn't take too long to take that stuff. So hopefully when I can put all this honeycomb to good use when I finish building these two buildings. Well, with a little bit more building, we can see that this building is really starting to take shape. Now over here, it looks like we've managed to get exactly the right height at 100 blocks there. I think there are a couple more. Another layer of these would be good, I think. Well, let's just build up this side first and see what it looks like, and then we'll make our decision there. And having a look at that, I'm not quite certain. You see, we need to get the width to match the height over there. So that's, I think it's 8. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 there. And if we come over to the other one, just like this building over here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 over here. And that one looks like 9 over there. The 9 one looks sort of better, I think. Let's have a look at the front. Come on. I wish this was a little bit quicker, but I really should have put speed on this. But anyway, 9 here. That looks a little bit sort of better, I guess. It's sort of good, sort of not good. It's just a little bit plain, but overall I think the height works slightly better with the width, whereas this one looks a little bit short and stumpy, if I'm really honest. But at the time I had run out of resources, so that one could go quite a bit higher, but it's sort of okay now. I've sort of used the height. So if we come back to our other building after eating, we can see what we can do. So I think 8 seems okay, but we can try for 9 and the 9th and 10th and see how that goes, which would actually make it slightly taller than these two buildings, which I sort of don't want. So let's go up here and see if we can actually get another layer without being too tall. And if I remember correctly, the one on the right is about 105. This one's currently at 100, and the one in the middle is still quite a bit taller. Still quite a bit of height to go. So let's actually build this up by another layer, and we shall be good after that one, I think. And having built out the 9th layer, I think that looks just about perfect. Perhaps just a tad tall, but yes, it looks a lot better. Now there is a little bit of a color contrast with the white here, but I think what I need to do is put some brown, or the dark brown, or some reds, just some other color in here to give it a little bit more difference. Perhaps I should have gone with the grey concrete instead of the white concrete here, just to give it a little bit more difference as well. So I might try that as well, see if the grey works better than the white. But overall, it's on to just building this, working out what I'm going to do here, and building it out. As a side note, the grey concrete here looks slightly better with the white there instead of having the grey column there, and there. I think it looks ever so slightly better than what's over here. So I think I'm going to have to go with that one instead. It does, actually no it doesn't. I was going to say it does mean this column is going to be over here, but no it isn't, so that works out quite perfectly. Having completely built up all this thing and actually corrected for a minor error, it turns out that on some of the 3 of the 4 sides I had accidentally put a third line in here, so these glass windows were actually one above these things. But now that's all fixed, I've now also built up the glass on this side and all the bits. Now I need to decide what I'm going to do in here. I could put in some doors and whatnot, but unfortunately this is an odd numbered block in here instead of even. So if I was to put, say, doors there's 2 blocks there, 3 here, so that's not really going to work. So what I'm thinking instead, after I find my axe, is to do a similar thing to what I've done in the front, except slightly varied. So I probably will do a 1 wide column of this and then figure out what to do with here as well. So do I have any dark concrete left? Or dark grey concrete left? Doesn't look like I do, so I'm going to have to build that up myself, unfortunately. So let's try it on the one side and see what it looks like and then go from there. Having a look at that, although it's nowhere near complete, I think it's the better solution than having to put in all the extra bits. So what I need to do now is put in the window frames here, finish off this thing as well as on the other side, and make this all concrete. And then to finish off the episode, we'll have to finish off this building which we didn't finish off last episode with all the orange glass and all the honeycomb blocks. So hopefully these bees can really start pumping out the honeycomb and we can actually get started, or we can get finished on these 2 buildings. And there we go. Oh man, there's a couple more blocks off, but this is just about done. I just need 1 there, and there we go. So we've finished off this building, at least on the outside. We do need to put a couple more flowers in. No! Oh, that was so close. I nearly died again. As you can see, I've lost 93 levels. I actually died earlier trying to put this thing up, but at any rate, so the outside of this building's done except for the flowers. I'm yet to decide what kind of flowers I want, but I'm thinking not orange, because I've got a lot of orange here. Red might be good, if I can find some good red ones. But yes, that needs to go in. I actually had to rob this building a bit of the honeycomb to put in, so this one would be finished. And I suppose at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter either way, because I'm going to have to use the honeycomb to finish off both buildings. So, and of course the orange glass. So that is just about it for today, actually. So let's figure out what flower we want. Probably blue might be good as well. The blue orchids that I've put into here as well, they might be good. So I'll figure out which one would be best and go from there. Even these roses might be good as well. Or the cornflowers. We'll have to see. After a lot of bone mealing and a lot of flower placement, I've gone with the light blue on the front facing and the back face, and dark blue or cornflower on the side wall. So I think that's going to work reasonably well. It just gives a little bit of extra color. I would have preferred maybe yellow or red, but I didn't. Well, I already had all of these done, or half of it done by the time I figured that out, but that doesn't matter too much now. So what we now need to do is get rid of the scaffolding and move it over to the first building, this building over here. Hopefully we don't lose too much, and collect it up. There's a little bit of lag. Collect it up and get it ready to get it ready for the next building to go. And I'm forgetting my words, all that. So not much longer, and this episode will be done, and hopefully we'll have 2 buildings already. With a little bit more building done and a few more AFK sessions, this thing is, at least the front face of it is done, and it's looking pretty impressive. It's probably a little bit too orange for my liking, but I guess I can't really help with that now. I've still got to do all the sides and turn off my auto clicker. I've got to still do all the sides as well as the back face, so there's quite a bit to go. So I'm going to have to be doing a few more AFK sessions and a few more bits here and there to get this building done, but more or less it's finished. So this building soon will be finished, and then we'll have a more complete skyscraper city. But that brings today's episode to an end. So if you have liked this episode, as always, remember to leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to keep watching out for the next one. Goodbye.